Hello, my name is Mark Miano. I'm the VP of Sales and Partnerships here at Glew, and today we're going to be talking about optimizing the timing of your e-commerce and multi-channel strategy through the lens of Unique's unique calculation called Lapse point. Excellent. Well, welcome, and as always, these are Glew Academy videos. And if you'd ever like to talk to us in person, well, just go ahead and launch a free trial or give us a call. All right, Lapse point. Glew, how successful e-commerce leaders use their data, optimizing timing, lapse point. What is lapse point? Okay, well, lapse point, the definition of it is the amount of time in days that a merchant or a store has to upsell its customer before that customer most likely is not going to purchase again. So basically, it's that upsell window that you have in order to increase the LTV of a particular customer or upsell a customer before that customer most likely isn't going to purchase again. The calculation focuses on customers with an amount of orders greater than one or a repeat customer. And essentially what it does is it looks at each one of your repeat customers. It averages out the distance or the average distance in days between each of those unique people's purchases and identifies a dynamic, actionable, and dependable upsell window for your store. Why is it important? Well, timing is insanely important for any particular upsell strategy, but for e-commerce, it's even more important because of how difficult it is. If you're too late to the party or you're too late asking or pushing your client to upsell or customer to upsell, a competitor is going to swoop in and steal your customer away. If you're too early, you will annoy the customer who will most likely click that dreaded unsubscribe button. So it's really important that we get this right. When I'm in Glew, I'll tell you where it is. Customers, future value, and you're going to see this customer status window down here. And you're going to see active, at risk, and lost customers. So what we do is we crawl through every repeat purchase that you've ever had. So if I'm looking at this store, about 4,701 two purchasers, another 2,003 purchasers. I mean, I have about 10,000 repeat purchasers here. And the average distance between these repeat purchasers' purchases is your lapse point, or in this case, it's 45 days. And that's really important to know, right? After we identify that length of time, in this case 45 days, we place a customer into an active, at risk, or lost status. You cannot be more than one of these statuses at a time, right? It's called being mutually exclusive. I, as Mark Miano, can't be active and at risk. I can only be one. From there, we place customers into their predefined segments. There's an active segment, right? At-risk segment. You'll see that status next to each customer, all right? And if I click into the customer detail, I'll even get one source of truth on each customer, and you'll even see where they live in that status and how to treat the person based on how long it's been since they've bought from you. Great. Now, let's kind of identify where we're going with this. Lapse point context. Again, the way that we calculate this number is by only using your repeat purchasers. Your lapse point is specific to the merchant or store. This is a unique dynamic number. It changes store by store. It does have the ability to change over time. It applies to any company whose goal is to get the customer to buy more than once, right? Repeat purchasers. And we'll use a couple case studies to get us started, okay? We'll do food, phone cases, and clothing as we march our way along here, and then finish up with some action points. What are the actual distances of time for each customer segment? Well, that's pretty easy, okay? So once the lapse point is calculated, Glew will place a customer into one of these three lapse point-based structures. Let's, for example, say we're talking about a clothing company, and that clothing company's lapse point is 85 days. An active customer is less than 80% of the way through lapse point, or in other words, they bought 68 or less days ago from you. At-risk customers are over 80% of the way through lapse point. The idea is that they bought 69 to 85 days ago. And then lost customers have passed this 85-day window lapse point. The play here, if I have an active customer, the play is we want to make it the customer's idea to buy again. We're not going to ask them to buy during the active status, okay? Please don't. They just bought from you. Now's the time to build trust. So in this case, what we want to do is build that trust. We want to make sure they get the product. We want to make them happy, confirm they got it, maybe teach them how to use it, show them there's the same celebrities using it. Again, we want them to run out of the product. Let's say I'm a makeup company, right? My whole shtick here is to try to get my customer to enjoy the makeup so much that they run out and buy again on their own. Same thing with maybe a laundry detergent company or a clothing company or a food company, right? We want them to run out of it or enjoy it so much they want to come back for more. Make it their idea to come back to you. If I have an at-risk customer, push. We're going to push these people to buy again. And we're going to push them hard, right? And the reason why we're pushing is for 3 reasons. I mean, I usually push with a volume of emails or a discount or something like that. Number 1, you've earned the right to push, right? You haven't asked them to buy yet during the active phase. Now we've earned the right, so of course we're going to ask them to buy again. Number 2, if you have a first purchase at-risk customer, we're not pushing just for the second purchase, but in the expectation that the customer buys a 3rd time on their own. Check it out. If I come back over here and let's say I click on customers and I click on customer list and I say create a segment, number of orders equals 1, customer status is at risk, right? I'm going to push them hard not to see this number change to a 2, right, to order twice, but in the expectation that I've now built habits in their psyche and they're going to come back on their own for that 3rd, 4th, and 5th time. Great. The 3rd reason is if they pass lapse point, they pass that 85-day window in this particular case, they aren't coming back anyway. So you really haven't lost anything. If you think about it, right? You have nothing to lose. So those are 3 really good reasons why at-risk is a really good time to push. Lost customers aren't lost forever, right? We're just going to treat them differently. I call it defense against the unsubscribe button, or some other of my clients call it a long tail strategy. Some type of excuse to get these people to buy again, knowing that they won't punish you by clicking the unsubscribe button because you're annoying. 1-year anniversary campaigns, new product launches, their birthday, something like that is a good way to get an excuse to wiggle in there and reignite excitement without, again, pissing them off and making them click that dreaded unsubscribe button. Great. So let's take a look at some of this visually. You know, I'm a visual guy. So let's take a couple of looks here. What you're going to see here is what I call the upsell window curve, where we have value or the probability a customer buy again on the left-hand side over time. This blue or this orange line down here, this is the lapse point window. So you're going to see this during these case studies, you're going to see this window get longer and shorter depending on the type of company we're talking about, right? We'll get into that in a moment. In the active status, you'll see that we're building value, right? The customer is enjoying the product and its appropriate enjoyment window in the active status. And then you'll see here that about 80% of the way through the lapse point, we hit the at-risk status. And you'll also see coincidentally or non-coincidentally that at-risk status is right at the top of the probability of that customer buying again. So we want to come in here right when the customer is looking to buy again, when the probability is at an all-time high, when our message is most well received is when we're gonna want to start pushing. And we're going to push super, super hard through this whole window until we hit the red line, right, which is the lapse point itself. And then, of course, we're in that loss status where we're going to tone it down a little bit so that we don't have people click that unsubscribe button and we have a nice base of people to market to regularly, right? So the green is to build value. The at risk is we're going to push strategically, and time kills probability of the upsell. That doesn't mean we can't have maybe a win back campaign, maybe like once or twice a quarter, but don't get carried away or we're going to get a lot of unsubscribes. Cool. So let's look at the food industry. Let's say that I'm selling granola bars. Okay. Well, on average for like snacks and such, the lapse point's about 30 days from what I've seen. Trust me, I've seen thousands and thousands of these stores. And you'll see I shrunk the lapse point window to about 30 days. And you're going to see same type of strategy, right? Just in a shorter curve. The moment of the first purchase, a quick consumption of the product, right? And then, of course, a window of time to push that person to buy again as they're thinking about their next snack. And then, of course, that lost customer status is going to approach a little bit quicker, right? Because our lapse window is so shallow. Phone cases. On average, a phone case company you'd think would be about 2 years. It's actually lapse points about 365 days, about 1 year. Probably because people break them all the time. But you'll see I extended that lapse point window to about 365 days and a much, much longer lead up to the upsell, right? Naturally, I don't need another phone case. I only have one phone. And then they probably bought a new phone or maybe got tired of their case. We have a very short upsell window. And then, of course, once they bought that new phone from another competitor, we've lost them. So again, very consistent, easy way to think about this. Lastly, this should say clothing, apologies. It's about 90 days for clothing, and you'll see a very similar upsell window, but we're going to go ahead and move on. Action point suggestions. Well, in my opinion, this is the most important customer funnel in your upsell strategy. What do I mean by that? Well, if you've ever talked with your Glew representative, you might have seen this slide before. These are some of the quote-unquote funnels that are native inside the Glew.io user interface. These are predefined customer segments. And you'll see here that I have a level of ROI for these different funnels. And the top one is the time-based funnel that we just walked through. And the reason why I have this one up at the top is because we're building value with the new customers who just bought from you. And then we're pushing just at the right moment to get them to buy again. Then we have that long tail strategy. So we want to catch these customers right when they buy from you in order to generate as much excitement and to increase the value as much as we can, only to push them to buy during that moment where they have the highest probability of converting again. So because the conversion rates are so good up here and because timing is so important, in my opinion, probably the most important thing, that's why you have it at the top. The second thing is you can operate artificially off of another lapse point. So for example, to go back to food again, when I'm in here, one of my clients was a perishable foods company. And when we logged in here, their lapse point was 35 days. And they were pretty upset. Mark, oh my God, I'm a food perishable company. I'm trying to get people to buy weekly. Look, I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm here to tell you what's actually happening. The 35-day lapse point isn't personal, but that's good to know that you want people to buy weekly. So you can actually operate off of an artificial lapse point. So what this company did is they went to store settings. They then went to lapse point. And then they overrode, this said 35 days up here, they overrode their lapse point to 10 days and operated artificially off of a 10-day lapse point juxtaposed to a 35-day one. And over time, they've seen their lapse point get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as they've increased the urgency, instilled that urgency upon their customer base to buy weekly and not monthly. Kind of cool. The third action point is matching up the right customer segment in Glew with the right product segment in Glew, right? So for example, let's say I had an at-risk group of customers that I wanted to get to buy again because I want to build habits, I want to build loyalty. If I don't push them at this moment, they're most likely not coming back. All the reasons I just identified. Well, I'm not just going to maybe discount anything. Let's say discounting was my strategy. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look into my product area in Glew, which we'll get into in another video, and look at my overstock products, right? Let me take a look at the products that I need to get rid of and turn into cash because no one wants them anymore. And what if I simply discounted those products and sent them directly over to my at-risk customers in order to provide them an incentive to buy when they normally wouldn't? Or I get to convert a group of customers that's really important for me to convert. I turn products into cash that I need to get rid of anyway. And then I save full price products for full price customers, right? Or here's one, at-risk customers. What if you throw in an extra for free and make them pay for shipping? So for example, I work with a company that sells gold jewelry. And during this at-risk window, what she does is she gives away the extra links that make her gold necklaces longer so you can wear them with a long cut dress. She actually will strategically give those products away for free. She will make some money on the shipping, right? She's not going to just make it unprofitable, but what a great little way to get that customer to buy or click that order button again in order to build habits in their psyche. Lost customers, I would maybe reserve some lost customer messages for your new product launches or for a person's personal birthday. And then the active customers, of course, build value. Don't ask them to buy yet. What you want to do is you want them to see people using the product properly. For example, I work with a company that sells laundry detergent. Okay, what they do is they don't ask you to buy again during the active phase. What they do is they tell you what permanent press means, how to organize your clothes in your dorm without tripping over everything, maybe showing a celebrity using the detergent. I don't know, but the whole point is they're building value and getting you inspired and making you smarter about how to use the product. Well, anyway, that's going to be video 4, Lapse Point. I'm very excited to have been here to help you learn a little bit more about your timing, and I'll see you in the next video series.